You are listening to the Hammersley Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Hello Ian, how are you?
Hi Mark. Yeah, it's almost like you never went away. We just carried on the podcast.
Welcome to the second part of the fastest way to 10 million, which we were doing last week, and we're about 38 minutes in, and I was like, hey, this is a long podcast, so thought we kind of truncate it a little bit, give people a week's break, and then come back to it. I apologize if you can hear a lawnmower going past. I've got my robot lawnmower going outside the room, but if I close the door,
Stop
I
flexing.
might perspire.
Stop flexing.
It's
That's
not as good
flex.
as yours. Ian's got an even better robot lawnmower because his picks up. Although, much to my delight, his robot lawnmower is broken.
Do you know what? They gave me a new one. They gave me a new one. Completely free. Yeah, and they upgraded to the latest model, which is great.
Don't mention the brand, otherwise this would be like an advert for the robot lawnmowers.
My motion, Yucca 2025. My motion.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I wish they did. I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
After tax.
Can't put the lawn on the business. I do meetings on the lawn. Yeah.
Should have expensed anyway, let's go.
Are you? You good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Awesome.
How's average order value? Where did we get to?
I was looking at the
give us a summary.
Yeah, so we covered the model. We were talking, first of all, we talked about the optimal spend. We talked about the numbers shoot. We talked about how much to spend and why, and getting that dialed in, understand your numbers. And then we talked about the revenue per visitor. So we were talking about, when I looked at the last part of the podcast, we were talking about the average order value. I presume we were talking about the conversion rate optimization as well and those things, but we hadn't, for the part of the customer, the revenue per visitor, we hadn't talked about the email. So we've got email to talk about, and then we've got the model to talk about. So do you want to launch into email? How you think about email now and to get to 10 million, and how, I think what I'd be interested in is how you keep it simple. I'm going to close the door because the lawnmower is very loud.
Yeah.
Don't mind.
Yeah, well, we are massive fans of email because it's the, just 1 second. Hang on a second. Hang on. Harriet, darling, Harriet, I'm recording a live podcast. What are you doing? Can you put that to one side for a minute? Thank you. That's okay. Did you hit? Was that distracting?
I didn't hear anything. I don't know what you were talking about.
No. It's all right. It's okay. Sorry, you can go. I got Harriet, my 6-year-old, with me, and she was just like got some some movers of plastic.
That's what Stephen Bartlett does on his podcast. He has his children running around on his podcast. Yeah, and Joe Rogan. Yeah, there's all his family members.
All very similar. Mr. Kipling cake. Yeah, the plastic. She's a very highly qualified 6-year-old e-commerce consultant.
Yeah,
I mean, she's training for the model. So email. So my summary of email is, well, 2 things. In order to make email really powerful as a recruitment tool, which is where we really see the power, we see it as a recruitment tool, you need to capture email addresses. So if you don't capture prospective email addresses, you can't really use it to boost new customer ROAS by virtue of, if you're only capturing email from existing customers, you are really, really, really missing a massive, easy opportunity to scale your ads and increase your ROAS. And so we started to think about email. In us to scale to 10 million, we really lean on prospective email capture and using that as part of the flow. And I would say it's probably one of our real cheat sheets, in terms of how we think about capturing email and how we use it for some of our own businesses. And I'll give you a really quick story about some of our own e-commerce businesses over the years, where sometimes we've gone, the ads aren't working. The ads aren't working, can't scale. There's a lot of times people say that to me. They're like, ads aren't working. And we've gone in and we've just increased the email capture by, double or triple. And guess what? The ads start working. What? And you're like, hang on. What do you mean? You've increased the email capture, and as a consequence, your ads start working in Meta and Google. What are you talking about? And that's true. That's what happens. And it's because if we increase the email capture, we can trigger a lot more of the automation browser abandonments and the campaign flows. And then the conversion increases massively, which is where the ROAS comes from. So the ROAS of the ads start working. So it's really key, which is why we put email in the revenue per visitor. So it's a massive, massive part of our playbook. And it's one of the first things I ever look at if I'm trying to, what I do now, what we both do is we're trying to, first time we meet a client, is we're trying to improve the efficiency of the current investment. We're trying to go, can we get a better return without spending any more money anywhere, just by doing something a bit different? And email is a classic example of that, where we go, right, if we can increase the email capture, because it's normally really crap, they're really low. If we can get it from 2-3% up to 10% and beyond, makes a massive difference to the new customer ROAS. So, recruitment of new customers. So that's a big part of it. And then I think the second thing I'd say, if I just may continue with my flow, the second thing is if you're really trying to keep it simple, which we are huge fans of. I mean, our latest little e-commerce brand, we did $1 million in a month, 2 months ago, and that business was when you started it a couple of years ago. But the latest thing here is that when you look at your percentage of newness versus existing, it's the average in an e-commerce business is about 75%. Now, it depends on lifetime customer value and which of the 5 email businesses you are. But, the average is each month you look at, you're about 75% new. And that's what our business is, the one that we're running, the bedding business at the moment. That is 75% new. So guess what that means? I can bang out the same emails that I've been doing for the last 2 years without changing them, because it's new, because they've never seen it before, because I'm recruiting new customers all the time. So I can get away with very simple email creative, because I'm marketing to a moving parade of people. They're new all the time. I don't have to keep it new. So I can whack them out, bang, bang, bang. So that's why email is so easy to bolt on. But unless you know how to get new email and how you understand that's part of the offer architecture. So that 6th domino we talk about, which is the conversion rate domino, 6 dominoes of e-commerce persuasion. The last one is the offer architecture, which is how you get people to buy today, this week, tomorrow. And an email is part of that final domino. It's how we actually, not to say you should leave it till the last minute, but it's how you get the email. Is part of that offer, and the offer architecture is probably one of those real things that we go in, and it's the kind of the easiest way, because it's cheapest way to increase things. What would you want to add?
If I was trying to get to a 10 million as fast as possible, what I'd be looking for is like you say, like, one of the advantages that you could do is understanding that data capture better than everybody else. So I'd go into the industry, I'd look at how they're capturing data, and I'd make sure that I could have a better way of doing it. Because what I've realized is that data capture pop-up is not only the method for capturing emails, it also is the first thing that people see on the site a lot of the time. And so it positions the sale, and it leads in, and a lot of people just do it very, very badly. So what I'd be hoping to see if I was going into that market were people doing the bog standard 10% off, not really understanding what was happening, kind of hiding it away, maybe not theming it. So if I was looking to disrupt that market, maybe I couldn't disrupt it with a product. Maybe I couldn't disrupt it massively with margins, but maybe could actually disrupt it with ways of actually getting more email addresses of first-time customers, which means that then my ROAS isn't dependent on the first-time sale from the ads. It's I'm actually getting a second bite of the cherry. So that could be one of the ways that I think that I'm actually going to have a bit of a runway in this business compared to everybody else. And it's little things like that that just drive. And I think that there's been so much focus in the industry on the ESPs like Klaviyo and MailChimp, and they like, because they can spend so much money on all of those features, and that's where they've been pushing and say, oh, you can do this with the emails and all stuff. But there's been very little focus from them on increasing data capture in the first place. And I think that's by design, because it's harder to sell. Like, because there's data capture programs out there that you can get very cheaply that will do pretty much everything Klaviyo does. So they can't differentiate themselves on that thing, and so therefore they don't push it as hard. They push the other features, and therefore in your mind, because you're marketed to with those things, you think those are the killer features, and yet, whilst they are important, they're not the things that are actually going to move the needle as much as everything else. So I think you can get.
Well, to put it simply in a blunt way, you could, if I was trying to get a business of 10 million, would I spend 6 months trying to get all my email flows absolutely perfect if I've only got an email capture rate of 2%?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Waste
I mean,
time.
look at Betting Envy. We only had one email. We only had one autoresponder email at the beginning, and that was the abandoned basket and maybe a welcome flow first email for probably the first year, 18 months. We didn't even augment that. We just had that one email. And I know we were leaving money on the table, but it wasn't
Well, I know we are.
priority.
And I think we said at the start, the caveat to this is don't just go and look at that of the Betting Envy sign. When I say the Betting Envy, you should look at the .co.uk if you can look at anything. But if you don't copy it, because Mark and I are spending really less than an hour. No, less than an hour a week. Not even that on it. So, we're doing the absolute fundamental foundations that we would teach in our course on Betting Envy, and yet we are doing good numbers because we are really time poor because we're busy, because we're doing lots of things. So we're doing for us, it absolutely has to move the needle. So hence why don't go and look at the emails and think that's I'm going to copy those, but look at the philosophy of what we're saying is that you have to, if we're Betting Envy, we're capturing like 20%. We're getting 20% of the people's email,
which is insane.
Fantastic.
I really almost think that can't be correct, because that's almost too high. But it's really high. I mean, normally we're in for like 12%, 10%. It's pretty good. Most people listening to this some will be down as like 1.5, 2s. Yeah. 4 will be good for them. Like.
I'll say one more thing about email. Sorry, because I realised there was this. The last one is that when so we're saying at this point, you need to have a really strong mechanism of capturing the email in the first place, and then you need to make sure your flows work. The third part of it is you then time bound the emails. So often I'll say to people, right, when are you sending emails? And they go, I'm sending it like 3 times a week. I'm doing it on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. Or I'm doing it on a Monday, a Friday, and a Sunday. And it's like, why? We're just sending it out. What are you sending? Well, one is a new content email. One is here's a new product email, and one is just what we think might be happening. Like, there's no structure to it. There's no theme, and they're really bloody hard work because they've got to come up with new stuff all the time. Best thing to do is to not email like equally spaced out, is to create a timed event. So with these new emails you're coming through, you take a timed event, it might be the week or the weekend, and you are just theming them around that a week. It might be the last week of the month. It might be the first week of the month. It might be the weekend. It might be the bank holiday. It might be so basically your timed interval that you're using it almost to flush out the almost buyers. It's like you're priming the pump. You're like building it up, building the emails up and up and up and up and up, and then you're like, right, boom, an event. And it's an event. It might be a weekend event where I might extend it on the Monday. So basically, saying that you concentrate your emails together over a timed period, and they work much stronger as a series themed event rather than just dripping them out, every Wednesday and every Friday. You theme them around it, and that's like you're getting double, triple the effects if you're doing it that way. And you can
even get more effect if you tie it into something that's happening, like a show. Let's say you're selling caravan parts and it's a big caravan show, and you say we'll have a show offer and all that kind of stuff. Like, so again, if I was trying to
get there's a reason why, but it goes just goes back
to the reason why. I'd be like pulling into that market. I'd be looking at the market and I'd be like, what are the big events in this market? Because if you're launching when you're small, you're not really. You almost think you're too small to have anything to do with it. Like you go, well, I'm not going to go to the NEC and do the show, so I can't have a show offer. You can have a show offer. You can say, because I love the show, I'm not going to be this year, but I'm going to do a show offer anyway.
Hang on a second. You always say this. Sorry, you always say this, but it's like if I'm doing the absolute basics to get to 10 million the fastest way possible, would I go and look at what show events? No, I wouldn't. I would just tie it to the seasonality. Like, look at the bedding brand, Mark. When
you do the long
there
weekends.
Isn't any. Take bedding.
No,
there isn't any.
There's probably
you don't know what the shows are.
Yeah, Ideal Home Show.
Well, it's one weekender, yeah. But I think we say this. I'm just going to play devil's advocate, cut through the bullshit there. Don't worry about that, because sometimes it's really hard to know what are the shows, and also the customer don't know because it's a trade show as well. Customer doesn't know what the bedding Ideal Home Show is.
I think there's obvious things. If you're in gardening, just do Chelsea Flower Show. There's just things that happen. You just don't want to miss them, basically, is what I'm saying.
What you're saying is you need a plausible reason why, which is a three-legged stool. The offer architecture is a three-legged stool. Reason why, amplify it, and it gets going to end. That's why, because it's more believable, which is why Black Friday works.
We're both saying, and both in agreement of, is a simple email with a reason why is better than a complicated email with no reason why. So I'd rather plaster at the top Chelsea Flower Show offer with a very simple message underneath, selling even bedding, than having like, these are the bedding
even if
we
it
picked out
wasn't
for you
Chelsea
for this weekend, and pulling out different bedding with no reason why,
Yeah, exactly.
It's more simple just to plaster like something at the top and say this is a reason to come to the site. All the email is a vehicle to get you off your email and onto the store, and there, rather than anything else. And you know more than I do. Like with Brook Taverner back in the day, 15 years ago, we tried all sorts of emails. We were like doing emails like, oh, we can't send them loads of sales emails because we don't educating them. We have to write something about how to wear your suit on a Friday, and people didn't care, did they? There was just like, turns out they just want to be sent emails that they can buy stuff from.
I know there was so much, and there's a continuing narrative about we have to use email to try to educate, and we can't just be salesy. The problem is if you sending email saying you're trying to educate them, they unsubscribe. They don't want them. They unsubscribe. So you're better off not doing it.
Yeah, and the other thing we learned back in the day was like, we got, oh, this person's bought a pair of red trousers. So if they've bought red trousers, they probably want to buy a red shirt to go with it, or they want to buy this. Let's send that email at that. And it turns out they didn't want us to choose what they wanted to buy. They just wanted us to give them, say, hey, you bought the red trousers. You've got this extra review points. Come on the site and choose what's trending. Yeah. They wanted to choose it
and
themselves.
It's a new spring collection's just landed. Come and have a look. And there's, an early bird 20% off. So basically we're saying keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. If there was ever an analogy that was more accurate, like keep it simple, stupid for email is huge.
And
the biggest thing is
get them on the site as soon as they can. That's really what you want to do.
I think that's the thing is it's just a vehicle to get. It's like the email's job is just to it's like a billboard. Like you're driving past on the motorway and you see a billboard. It's like, well, there's an event on. It's Ironmonger Direct. Right, it's an event on. Boof. It's just, it's not to sell. It's not to help them choose. It's just there's something happening. And it's simple form. I mean, there obviously are exceptions to this. If you're selling like a health supplement or something, or a subscription for a health thing, okay, you get it. But it's mainly just to get them there. And then once you're there, then of course the homepage job is trust, credibility, navigational flow, product page is there to continue that story. As it goes into conversion. But
I mean, there is the opposite to it, like the water filter. Your water filter has run out. We need you to buy the exact same water filter. That's the kind of email where it does work, because it's like, you can't say, hey, come and buy tens of water filters. It's like, I need to know exactly what water filter I bought last year. I can't remember,
Actually, there's a good point, actually, that email has to go with the flow of the river. So you have to, it enhances what's naturally happening. Take the second sale. I mean, one of the first things we'll look at is when the second sale happens, and the second sale is key, we know, to get the lifetime customer value up. And we've done loads of workshops and modules on getting the second sale, and the act of scarcity and the fear of loss. And you did a great workshop on it, and email just enhances that, doesn't it? So you're right. If somebody just bought a water filter, they're not going to buy a second water filter in the first week. But in other businesses, like bedding, for example, they get the bedding. They go, oh my God, this is amazing. I want another set for the spare room, and I don't want another set to wash in. Or if it's homeware, they're doing up the house. There's lots of examples where people will buy again very quickly. And email is the glue that holds this all together. So email is a big part of our getting to 10 million. It's definitely on the table, isn't it?
I wouldn't want to run a company. If I was trying to get to 10 million as quickly, I wouldn't want to run an e-commerce site where email wasn't going to be a big part of it, because it's such a tool in our arsenal. So, I mean, there are brands that email just doesn't work at all. And it's hard to think of them because they don't really work with anybody where email isn't. Like even B2B, it's like we can use email to do well.
So I think the only thing I'll say, I mean, email, traditionally, you would think it wouldn't work for businesses who have no repeat, but then it works well for the initial sale. Like if you're selling a wedding dress, you go
super important.
Yeah. Wedding dresses, because think about how long it takes people to buy a wedding dress or a sofa, it's really, really important. But I think it is changing. I mean, look at my kids now, and I've got teenagers, and, and they don't check their emails. They're not on their email. So, you have to be mindful of the younger generation. I mean, they're all going to get emails, and it may work. But my kids, like, I say, check your email. I can't. And like the 15, 16, they're buying stuff online. They're buying clothes and things, but they don't check their email.
My son uses email because he's on his computer all the time. Yeah. Well, he does run a $100,000 business, doesn't he? So, he's dialed in.
Wow. Trained by the best. But having said that, it's a podcast is about the easiest way to get 10 million. So we would pick a business like you say.
We would pick someone we could use.
We could leverage
one of our tools for
email and SMS as well. We use the same thing, but you use SMS. SMS is like, poof, build up your SMSs as well, because you kind of got this like ammunition. It's like, whoa, I'm really loading up more weapon.
I mean, email to deploy a big topic. But and now we're on so we talked about optimal spend, which is number one of the model, and we got the revenue per visitor. That's number two, and the third leg to the model is we actually call it model, which is margin, lifetime customer value, and stock, because they're the foundations that everything really sits on. And margin is like, if you were going, if you wanted to get to 10 million as fast as possible, first of all, when you got to 10 million, you want to be profitable. It's very easy to get to 10 million when they're not be profitable. There's plenty of people who've done that. And you can't get to 10 million and then suddenly go, oh, let's now build in profitability. It has to be there. It has to be built in. Unless there is a step change and like suddenly you get to 10 million and you can buy the factory that makes your bedding and those kind of things. But like, you don't really want to get, 10 million, by the time you get to 10 million, you need to have your profit baked in. So do you want to talk about margin and what kind of company you look for?
Margin and lifetime customer value were like the hidden levers of e-commerce, and it was one of the first things that we used to talk about when I would go and do a speech. I would say margin and lifetime customer value were things that you couldn't see on the outside, but they were like these were the magic carpet that businesses that had e-commerce businesses that had high margin, high lifetime customer value would just scale away, and the reason was because they could afford to take their return on ad spend really, really low, much more aggressive. So take some of the businesses that we've been involved with that we've scaled. Corny seaweed and goat milk stuff, and these are examples of compound businesses where they have good margin products. So any sort of health, wellness supplement. They have compound. They're an example of a compound business. They have high margin, high repeat, and that means they can be super, super aggressive with their paid media, and they can just buy the customers. They literally just pull the lever and they can buy the customers because they can be very, very aggressive. So it is linked to your industry. It does tend to be, bedding businesses are all operating at a similar margin. So like we need to be hitting a certain margin of a certain point. But if we were going into another market, we wouldn't, it would be dictated to by whatever one. I think it's relative, I'm saying, but you need to understand how your competitors are, what sort of margin they're operating on, because it's all who can pay to play now. And that's the businesses that Mark and I like. We want a business that we can take to 10 million, where we can architect it. Like we can take 10 million quickly by pulling the ad lever. And so we don't want to do it slowly, organically. It's too fickle and out of control. Like we'll take it if it's there, but what we want is the ability to go in, aggressively pull the ad lever, and take 10 million market share off somebody else. And we want to do it fast. Yeah. And that's the model that we teach, and that's what we want. So in order to do that, if we're trying to take market share off somebody and they're operating on an 80% and we're operating on a 30%,
not going to work.
We're not going to do it. It's not going to work. Yeah. So,
the difference in
fixed costs come into this
margin, but makes a huge difference. Like you've seen on the number sheet, I'll change the margin from 45 to like 48. And some cases, the profit will double that they're taking out of the business. And it's those tiny little extra edges that make a huge, huge difference. So if we were trying to get to 10 million as quick as possible, we would have to know the kind of industry standard margin that people are experiencing in that business. There's no way I'd go into any business unless I knew what kind of product margins people were getting, because that is like, it's almost like me going into a boxing match and being not lightweight, featherweight boxer and turning up and I'm in the heavyweight division. I'm not going to last very long. Like you're just going to get absolutely pummeled. And there are some industries that you just can't compete because they some things are very volume led, and you seem to get to a volume, you get the margins and things like that. So margin is
I think
really important.
I would listen to this. Yeah, I'd listen to, if I heard people say something, well, how are we ever going to compete then? If people, if you're saying, okay, you've got to be, if your competitors in your space are doing a 7% margin. Yeah, and there's always going to be a competitor in your space that's got a really high margin. How do you compete? And you compete by being disruptive. It doesn't mean to say that you cannot make it work, and you may have to lean into a better margin as you grow and you get better buying power and you you start to develop and you get better trading terms. You do, so you can and you may well operate at a lower margin initially because you're making a foothold in, and then it becomes easier. So and you can be disruptive, but it's like, would we if we were like, take toothpaste to give you a good example, right? Would we go and take on Colgate with a generic toothpaste? If we're going to go and take on the teeth market, would we? No, we wouldn't, because it would be generic nothing. We would never be able to outcompete them on anything. So we'd have to go in with a niche, and we would have a toothpaste for, say, menopausal women. We'd have a menopausal women toothpaste. And I say that just because we've got some clients who are
I'd
doing
like
really
you to
well
film
in that
those
niche.
ads, Ian. Pitch
Yeah. Is that
to menopausal women.
Yeah.
And say, I've seen you. Your teeth aren't good. Here's some toothpaste.
Yeah. Isn't it the better? Yeah. But you'd go in with a niche, and therefore you could, and that's something that, you could clip at the tails of Colgate with, and you got to, and actually you'd probably be deliberately more expensive and all that. So that's an example of where you can move very, very quickly.
So
and
what I'd want a good margin for the industry, but a branded product. So I'd want to be building a brand on that margin. What I wouldn't want to be doing is going in with a margin and then competing on price and saying, hey, we're cheaper than everybody else, so buy from us. Like that because what's going to happen over time is it's just going to erode your margin. If you're just competing because you've got a lower margin, you say, hey, you can get this from us for like 25% of the price. All that's going to happen is someone's going to come in and go, we're not doing it for 20, like half price of that. Like you've got to have a brand so that it's not the only reason that people are buying for you. Sure, you could say, we're giving you the same quality, but for half the price of the corporate brands. You can say things like that. But ultimately, you don't want to just lead and like, hey, we just got a much better margin. Like, I think that I've seen some adverts recently where people in bedding, there's a bedding one, and he's going, oh, we get our bedding made at the same factory as Ralph Lauren. And I think that might be an okay strategy to launch, but long term, that's not where you want to be, because you're always going to be, oh, I'm buying from them because they're cheap. They're cheaper. It's the same factory.
I'll say the other thing. I met a business this morning who were selling health supplements, and they they got a great margin, 80% margin. Average order value is good. Average order is like $60. And the repeats there. But they have absolutely no focus, niche, or idea who the customer is. So it's like supplements, great supplements, some of the best you could possibly get. But it's like they're going out to the market and going to Lametta. Can you give us a person? Well, a man or a woman? Well, that could be either. Well, an old man? I don't know. It literally, there's no focus of who that demographic is and who that customer persona is. So, yes, margin and lifetime customer value are really key, but then it's also understanding who the customer is and being able to identify them and emotionally connecting with the customer. So
otherwise you're going to come up against like IM8, which is like David Beckham's supplement, and it's like, well, you either buy one from David Beckham and he's just selling to everybody, or you are a guy in your garage and you've made some supplements, and it's like, who are you going to buy from? Like, oh, probably people will buy from David Beckham.
Yeah, but Mark and I are now, we're excited about businesses that have high margin, high lifetime customer value, because it's easier. Because the maths are easier. It just means that, when first thing we do is go and look at the margin calculator and we say, how much can we afford to recruit a customer, which is like which gives you the new customer ROAS, and that's like working out your opening hours of the shop. And it's like, you want to be able to like open a shop in every town in the UK or every shopping mall in the USA. And because the margins and the cash you're getting off the customers is so big that you can afford to go big, aggressive, as fast as you can. And that's why we like these margin, high margin, high repeat. And the worst one example is you have a low margin, low average order value, no repeat. They're like the hard ones. It's just like a one-off, and it's low average order value and it's low repeat, and it's like, ugh. And a lot of times when I meet people who aren't in e-commerce and they know that I'm in e-commerce, and they go, oh, I've had this great idea. It's great, and they'll go, oh, it's this, this little accessory that you can clip onto your camera, and it means that you can hold the camera, or something weird, something like as a one-off. And I'll go, low average order value, low margin, low repeat. In my head, I won't be as brutal to them.
Yeah.
But I'll be looking
saying, that's a great business idea. You should definitely leave your job, and you should just give up your mortgage and just go and just follow your dream with that product. Because that's what we say. We kind of subtly say, this is a bad idea. Just
No. Just makes
Unless
it
they're
easy,
young,
doesn't it?
let them do it when they're young. Like, go and learn some
Well, they
lessons.
won't listen to you anyway if they're young.
No. It's like a lot of time when
No
you get
chance.
excited about something, they'll go and find people who agree with them. That's just what people do.
And then I think stock, coming on to stock.
Stock, I was just going to ask you about stock.
Yeah, what stock is. So, again, if I was going to pick my perfect scenario, I want to get 10 million as fast as I can. What I wouldn't want is long lead time and a high minimum order quantity. So, how much I need to commit, and poor trading terms. So a bad example would be something that takes 6 months to arrive, something that is like has a minimum order quantity of $200,000, and something where they wanted 50% up front and then 50% when it landed, like, because that would do two things. It would be crippling my cash flow, and it would be so much risk, and it would be like, it's like a bet, it's like a gamble. What I would want is, in an ideal scenario, as I'd want an 80% margin, a 50, 60, pounds or dollar, average order value. I want them to buy 3 or 4 times a year, and I'd want it made locally, and I'd want a lead time of like less than a week. And I'd want
a massive margin.
And I'd want the supplier to basically only charge me what we sold, and to stock it all and ring fence it. And I'd want him to dispatch and do 3PL as well.
That's why there's so many people doing print on demand. Print on demand is the perfect business. You hold no stock. It's like my son. Like, he holds no stock.
Not good repeat though.
No. But there are some that have some repeat, like Forever Everton.
Well, the business I have just told you exists, and they're on the program when they're in the UK, and that's what they've got.
Yeah.
It does exist, and there are niches and industries that you can.
So would you, from that point of view, I mean, bedding isn't as ideal as that. You do have to have long.
No,
you have to have volume.
It's relative to your industry
because of that.
Let me just say one more thing. Because on the bedding, it's a really good example, right? This weekend, on the bedding business, I had a little bit of a spat because we've sold out of our best-selling white bed sheets. And I'm annoyed because, what the business has done is gone off and bought stupid towels and stupid floral patterns that nobody's going to buy. Yet we've sold out of our core bestsellers. So even the Hammersley greats are, failing.
Well, it's more because you're trying to rein the procurement person.
I'm trying to rein. Yeah, and our business partner.
He gets very
heavily
excited.
Influenced by a trade show, and he thinks we will grow by. But I mean, he doesn't now, because we've banged it into him like every time we meet. So we're like, we're business partners. We will leave that side of it to him. He is now saying, "Oh, I agree with you. Thank you." After 2.5 years worth of banging it over his head, but yeah, and now we're consolidating the range, and we're only having 6 colors, 6 sizes, 6 colors. So it's really simple. What we want is a narrow range of stock, but lots of depth. We don't
want a long
want
runway for each of those items. So it's like it's the whites, it's the greys, it's the, I don't know, beiges. Well, I can't. That's it's whites and greys.
We just don't want to take a risk. I think what I'm basically saying is add on other SKUs at your peril. Like, don't think if I add more SKUs, I'm going to instantly add that my revenue. What you're adding is complexity, or more complexity for stock, more risk, and actually doesn't necessarily increase sales, because you end up with this paradox of choice. What do I want? Do I want that slightly different shade of white, or that?
Is they have these bestsellers, and then they go, "Oh, I can't be so," and they can't be so dependent on this bestseller. And I think that, yes, you are at risk with that bestseller, but at the same time, if you have a bestseller, you should milk that bestseller as far as it goes. You shouldn't go, "Okay, that bestseller is selling over here. I'm going to go and try and build something else out." You should, like, when you get, I said to my son, a bird in the bush is worth 2 in, no, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Like, so he was looking at different businesses to set up, and he's got this existing business, the Elvish Maps business, and it took me a long because he's young, so he goes off and does ideas and stuff like that. But I was like, eventually came back and he said, look, I just need to grow the business I've got first. And I was like, yeah, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And when something works in business, you ride that as far as you can, as fast as you can whilst it's running. And so many people just don't ride it. They try and do other things and they try and build other things and they get distracted. Is that you find the thing that's working. And yes, it's a bit like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Instead of like, they always said that they didn't agree with the, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, the diversification. You take the eggs and you put them in many baskets, and then at least those baskets, don't work. He says you put all your eggs in a basket and then you watch that basket and you really carefully and you make sure that basket is okay. Because if you've got an egg in many different baskets, you can't protect any of those baskets. You're just basically applying the law of numbers. So I think that's another way of getting to 10 million is like one product or a few products will take off. And just, you've got to really, you go, that's what the market wants. That's what the runway wants. I will run that. I will run with whatever the opportunity it gives me. I will not keep looking for two birds in the bush. I will work with a bird in the hand.
I mean,
and I think that's a great way to finish the podcast here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Although there is one caveat to that.
What?
Fashion is harder to do that with. Women's fashion, look at our business at the moment with needlepoint, canvases and sewing. I mean, you don't buy the same needlepoint kit. You have to have certain businesses. You have to have newness and freshness. But
I think like even those fad businesses, like the tallow skin cream that's trending at the moment, that clearly won't last forever, and like the doll, the popular, like. You should lean into it. You should run with it, but you should realize that it's a fad. You shouldn't then like for
get
example,
in, get out.
Like the butchers who went in COVID, and they thought that this is we're going to be geniuses now. We're going to put loads of money. We're going to go. It's like, no, this is a time where people are buying online at ridiculous quantities, and you need to make money now. This is not a signal for you to go and invest massively in bigger warehouses and think that this growth is going to continue forever and ever and ever. But at the same time, you don't miss the opportunity, but you don't assume the opportunity is going to last forever. There's a lot in that. There's a lot of lessons in that to understand. Like, first of all, you don't miss the opportunity. You don't avoid it. But at the same time, you don't think that you're now a genius, that everything you're going to touch is going to turn into gold because you've made it. And I think that, I could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. I was just sitting back listening.
Yeah.
Watching you go. But I agree with you. I mean, certain businesses, what I would say, we would introduce new products if it positively changes the maths. That's what we would, That's what we want. Yeah. So say, there's a couple of cosmetics businesses that we've had where they've gone, we're selling a particular cosmetic product and it's, they're not buying it enough. There's no repeat. So, okay, what can we sell that they have more repeat? So we would look at it, how does it affect? Unless it's changing the maths, your higher margin, higher AOV, greater lifetime customer value, we're not interested. If we've got a product that's selling really well, all it's doing is complicating it. So on that note, keep it simple.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ian. Good podcast.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone.
See you next week for a topic we will work out just before we go live. See you later. And subscribe. And what is it? Like and subscribe. To be honest, I've looked at our likes and subscribes. Me actually saying like and subscribe hasn't actually done any different at all. So, like, people will watch the podcast. There's loads of people watching.
Give them
the
a hook. What are you going to do if they like it? What are you going to do? Would it make you? I don't think I'm going to do anything less depressed.
It's basically
on mental health.
But the reason why, if we get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of February,
got more than that. Surely we've
I
not been doing
will
it for this
give
long.
everybody a free workshop. I will, to anybody that's signed up, I will send out a free workshop on something that's worth $1,000, and you'd have to pay $1,000 for it.
There you go. It's probably a better hook.
Yeah, there you go. So like and subscribe, bastards. Oh dear. Anyway,
Okay.
I'll see you soon for our next meeting.
Bye.
Bye.